The scorching sun beat down on the arid desert as Captain David Miller and his squad rolled into the abandoned village, their armored vehicles kicking up plumes of dust. This was a routine mission, or so they thought. The village, known as Al-Ramla, was marked as deserted on their maps, a place where no man should dwell. But their orders were clear: secure the area and investigate any unusual activity. Local rumors had branded the village as the Cursed Sands. It was said that those who ventured too close would never return. The soldiers dismissed these warnings as local superstition. To them, it was just another ghost town, a relic of a forgotten war. But as they entered the village, a strange feeling settled over them. The air grew thick, and a creeping silence replaced the hum of the desert. Private Lewis, the youngest in the squad, tried to lighten the mood. "Guess the locals were right. This place is deader than dead." But his nervous laugh did little to ease the tension. That night, as the soldiers set up camp, things took a turn for the bizarre. The radios crackled with static, strange whispers filled the air, and the temperature dropped suddenly, despite the relentless heat of the day. The men started hearing things: unearthly voices calling their names, shadows moving just out of sight, but when they searched, they found nothing. "Just the wind," Sergeant Thompson muttered, trying to convince himself more than anyone else. But the wind didn't explain the footprints they found the next morning, large, deep imprints in the sand that circled their camp. And they weren't made by anything human. On the third night, the situation escalated. As the soldiers conducted their routine patrol, a haunting laughter echoed through the empty streets. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The men tightened their grips on their weapons, fear gnawing at their nerves. "Stay sharp," Captain Miller ordered. "We'll split up and sweep the area." As they moved through the village, the laughter grew louder, more maniacal. Private Lewis, leading one of the teams, suddenly cried out. When the others reached him, they found nothing but his weapon lying on the ground and a faint scent of sulfur in the air. Panic began to spread through the squad. More soldiers started disappearing, each one without a trace, vanishing into thin air. The remaining men, their numbers dwindling, gathered in a makeshift command post. Sergeant Thompson, his face pale, turned to Captain Miller. "This isn't natural, sir. It's like something's hunting us." Their local guide, an old man named Hassan, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up. "This village was abandoned for a reason. The people here angered a jinn, a creature of fire and air. They defiled its resting place, and in its fury, the jinn cursed the village." Captain Miller, though skeptical, knew they were running out of options. "What do we do?" he asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Hassan shook his head. "There is no escape. The jinn has marked you. The only way to survive is to appease it. But how? That I do not know." With no other choice, Captain Miller decided to take a risk. The squad would attempt to flee the village at first light, but the desert had other plans. As they prepared to leave, a violent sandstorm erupted, blotting out the sun and trapping them within the village. The winds howled with a voice of their own, and within the swirling sands they saw shapes, figures made of fire and smoke, eyes burning like embers. One by one, the soldiers fell, dragged into the storm by unseen forces, until only Captain Miller remained. He ran blindly through the storm, stumbling upon an ancient shrine half buried in the sand. He could feel the presence of the jinn, its anger radiating from the ground itself. Dropping to his knees, Miller whispered a desperate apology to the entity, begging for mercy. The wind roared louder, and he felt the jinn's fiery gaze upon him. Then, in an instant, everything went silent. The storm ceased, and when Miller opened his eyes, he found himself alone in the desert. The village, the shrine, his men, they were all gone, as if they had never existed. Only the endless expanse of sand remained, stretching out in every direction. Captain Miller was the sole survivor, left to wander the desert with the knowledge of what he had encountered. When he was finally rescued days later, delirious and on the brink of death, he spoke of the Djinn, of the cursed village, and of the horrors that had befallen his squad. But no one believed him. The village of Al-Ramla was gone, erased from existence, as if the desert itself had swallowed it whole. But Miller knew the truth, knew that some things, some places, are better left undisturbed. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more spine-chilling content.